Welcome back to the next video conversation in our series, People Solutions with Lockton. I'm Travis Brashear, and as we've said in some of the earlier videos, the purpose of these conversations is sort of twofold. One, to really get into the issues of the day around healthcare and the challenges our clients are facing going forward in 2024 and beyond. And then also to broaden the conversation with HR executives and business leaders and really assisting them in connecting some of these strategies back to their broader people solutions. But today we're really going to spend time in the healthcare industry, more specifically in the pharmaceutical business and in what's happening in the PBM world. And we're delighted today to have our national practice leader with us, Julayna Meyer. Welcome.
Great, thanks Travis. So happy to be here with you.
Thanks for being here and making the time. So first of all, talk a little bit about your background and your time with Lockton.
Yeah, so I'm a pharmacist by background, and I've been in this pharmacy benefit management world for 30 plus years now. And I have really the privilege of working with our national practice here at Lockton, which is a large number of people across the country that are dedicated to the pharmacy benefit. And that includes a number of pharmacists as well as analysts and experts in the area.
Yeah, I've been here now for 3 years, and one of the great experiences I've had is just working with the depth of expertise that we have in this space. It's a great advantage for us, for sure. So there's a lot of things happening in the pharmacy world, right? I think
never a dull moment.
I think I just saw this week that CVS is intending to go to this, cost plus model, which is going to be interesting for everyone. But let's start with the thing that I think everybody's talking about, at least in some of my circles, is what's going on with some of this the weight loss drug issue.
Yeah, we know that obesity is a real problem in this country, and some of the newer drugs are frankly very effective. But the challenges that we have facing us really now today with all these is, first of all, the cost, incredibly expensive. And so as we start thinking about the challenge of managing obesity, these drugs are just one component and they need to be used appropriately. And I think some of the concerns we have right now is they may not be being used appropriately.
And so if you think about it from our client's perspective, how long is it going to take us to figure out whether the benefits of this potentially down the road offset, some of the other challenges that we have, that we know the comorbidities around being obese carry with them in terms of cost and impact to productivity, et cetera? Any idea?
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time, and you're going to have to look at this holistically if you're a benefit manager to say, what is my overall obesity management from whether it be bariatric surgery or lifestyle changes along with the medications. And I think, frankly, we're not there yet. The industry needs to catch up to say, how do we integrate the lifestyle management with the medications with this holistic approach? And the data so far is not showing that offset on the medical side cost. Even the manufacturers have not been able to prove that they can lower overall medical cost. And within Lockton, our data suggests that is accurate. We're not seeing that as well as people that are on it. And so the question will be, how long will that return take? And it's just not there yet.
Okay, so what is the best practice then today? What is our best advice, or what are you seeing our clients deciding ultimately for 2024 and beyond?
I would say for most clients who are not covering the anti-obesity drugs today, they are not adding coverage. And our recommendation would be to pause and wait until we truly have that integrated lifestyle management with the medication, as we have more information around, can people ever safely terminate the medications and maintain the weight loss? Once we get there, I think there'll be more evidence there. So I would say don't add it. I will say for a lot of our clients who have been covering it, they're actually removing coverage for next year because they have seen their costs just skyrocket. And it's been interesting, for the first time in I don't know how many years, we are seeing the non-specialty drug trend outpace specialty drugs. Okay. And it is driven by this one category alone, the GLP-1 drugs, which are used for diabetes as well as weight loss, but those two together are driving trend high.
So if you're sitting in that benefits management seat and you're talking to employees about this, is there anything that they can do to help employees that decide maybe they want to do this and pay for it themselves? We've got cash cards and discount cards and GoodRx and those types of things? Are there any best practices for people who are willing to pay for the weight loss drugs on their own?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a cost perspective, there are some assistance out there from the manufacturers with some copay cards. And I think really the guidance would be to really talk to your doctor about what is the best for you as a patient. Do you really need to lose this much weight? What are you doing from a lifestyle process to help assist that? Because all the clinical trials were a combination of the drug and the lifestyle change. So you really need to be conscious of how you're going to combine those. And then lastly, I think you really need to have a very serious conversation about what are the side effects. They're not pleasant, and it appears that because of that 2/3 discontinuation rate, it could well be that side effects is what's driving that early discontinuation.
Okay, so plenty of challenges here. Revisit this potentially 6 months down the road or for 2025 and see if there are any major changes.
Yeah, I think revisiting for 25 is very valid, and we'll probably have 8-9 more months of data, and maybe we'll have a different position at that point.
Okay, not the greatest news in the world, but let's change gears and talk a little bit about what we're seeing on the compliance front. This is nonstop in the benefits world, but now it's creeping into the pharmaceutical industry. So what are our clients facing here?
Yeah, there is a lot going on when it comes to the legislature, both at a national as well as a state level. At the national level, there's a lot of talk about they want to regulate PBMs. They want to mandate transparency in pricing, rebates. While all that's going on at the federal level, nothing's passed yet. And we know sometimes it takes a long time for the federal government to move. So we'll see if that comes to pass anytime this year. I think the bigger problem that we're seeing is with the state level legislation. And most of the states are trying to preempt ERISA. And if you think about ERISA, has always helped our clients who have multi-state employees keep one consistent benefit. But now with all the state-by-state legislation on the pharmacy side, it's making it very challenging for HR benefits manager on how they're going to potentially have to have different plans by state.
Okay. So moving away from compliance, and we've talked about the bigger issue, what else are we seeing in terms of the specialty drug pipeline? What other advice are we giving our clients around managing that with and without their PBM or inside and outside their PBM? What other major issues on this front are you seeing?
Yeah, obviously specialty continues to be a big spend. It's over 50% of most of our clients' drug spend today, but it's only about 2% of their patients who take it. So it is a really low utilization, high spend category. So as we start to think about, how can we continue to keep that under control or reverse that at all? Some of the opportunities are in the biosimilar market, right? We've been talking for years about we're going to have our first biosimilars for Humira, which we do have multiple on the market. Unfortunately, we've only seen about a 3% uptake of those. And partly that's because of how the PBMs are managing their formulary. But I think as we start getting to 2025, we're going to start to see that shift somewhat, that we'll see more adoption of biosimilars, which will help with the cost. But the bad side is that pharmaceutical manufacturers are really good at marketing, and so they've already developed new drugs to replace Humira, and they're actively trying to move patients away from that drug onto these newer products. So it's going to be a constant battle, and I think the price on specialty is just going to continue to rise. So as you start thinking about how can you manage that outside of biosimilars, it's really making sure that you've got a tight formulary, that you've got the right utilization management. Whether that's within your own PBM or if you want to look at outside PBMs who may do that a little bit differently, a little bit stronger, those are definitely options that we're seeing clients look at, is kind of carving that specialty out. So options to consider.
Okay. Definitely need an expert in this space to help you, right? I mean, that's complicated.
It's some tough waters to navigate, and it's constantly changing. So definitely recommend you working with somebody who understands all the nuance there.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what we're seeing from a genetics perspective and what's happening in the marketplace here, right? Are we going to be able to tell me years in advance how to deal with some of my challenges anytime soon?
So gene therapy is an exciting field. We've definitely seen some advances when it comes to some of these disease states that we've maybe not had cures for or not even had treatments for. And so I do think it's an exciting space. But however, I will say the outcomes have been less than what we'd hoped for, right? The idea with the gene therapy is that we'll go in, we'll insert a gene replacement that cures you. And that's really not what we're seeing so far. We're definitely seeing in some conditions where it's making advances in the clinical outcomes for those patients, but it's not absolutely reversing that disease. I'll give you an example. There's a new drug out for hemophilia A, and what it's showing is that at about 4 years, it's reducing the number of bleeds by about 50%. So that's substantial for someone with hemophilia who definitely has those bleeding episodes, but it's not completely stopping it, right? And one of the challenges that we're finding with the gene therapies is the lack of durability. How long are they going to last? So example, with that drug, you see really high efficacy year 1, and then it starts to decrease. And so will it plateau or will it completely go back? And so while it's helpful and it's great clinical advancements, the cost. I mean, we're talking $2 to $4 million per treatment. Wow. And so I think plan sponsors are saying, yeah, how do I afford this, right, at this kind of cost? And so I think that's another challenge that as an industry we have to really, get around is how do we pay for these really exciting therapies?
Yeah. So the future is promising, but still expensive, it sounds like at this point.
Very expensive.
Well, let's talk about one last thing while we still have a few minutes, and talk about independence, right? So one of the great attributes of Lockton, and we talk about this a lot, is independence, whether that's in ownership or the way we go about our business. Can you talk a little bit about what that independence means in the pharmacy space, both to you as a practitioner and to our clients?
Yeah, because we work with our clients to say what is the best pharmacy benefit, what is the best solution for them. We want to be able to look across the entire market and not just have a set number of things we can go to, right? So we do not have our own coalition. We've done that purposely, that we said that we want to really look across the entire marketplace and decide and help our clients decide what's best for them. And so that's one reason that we don't have a coalition. And so I give you an example. If all the RFPs that we did last year, which were several hundred, we had over 50 different PBMs selected by our clients. Oh, wow. So that tells you that we're definitely taking a broad approach.
But not necessarily anti-coalition.
No.
Yeah. Of those few hundred RFPs, it sounds like, how many of those would you say go to a third-party coalition?
Yeah, I think coalitions in and of themselves are okay because it's just really aggregating your purchasing power, but it's really getting that coalition that's transparent, that you have the visibility, that you as the client own that contracting piece of it.
So beyond the feeling as a consultant of not having the pressure of having to present a product and really feeling like you can present the best options available, what potentially, from a client's perspective, might the downside be, of being with one of our competitors that does have a coalition? Is there a limitation to what might be available to them in that particular instance?
Well, I think they should always ask themselves, how do I know I'm getting the best deal if I'm only getting compared to the consultants coalition, right? And so do they truly have the best interest of me at mind or not? So clients should ask that and make sure they're comfortable with that perspective, that if a number of their clients are only going to the coalition, you may want to think about that. And then I think secondly, you need to look at the contractual obligations that you enter into in a coalition. So what is the data? Is it yours if you want to leave? What are your termination fees if you want to leave? So understanding all that up front, I would really like clients to think about so that they don't get surprised on the back end.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Well, it's been an interesting conversation. Thank you for making the time. This is a very important topic, obviously, for all of our clients. Any last parting shots? Any last words of wisdom for us, for clients going into the new year, thinking about the pharmacy? What did we miss?
So I think we're going to have a rocky year. When it comes to pharmacy, we're going to see probably double-digit trends again as we head into 24. So really making sure that you're staying on top of that and understand where that's coming from, and being prepared was something I would say really important for our clients to consider.
Great. Well, thanks again, Julayna. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of People Solutions with Lockton.